Aloha everybody, welcome to the Wild Wahine. This is Kaylani and this is your astro forecast for this upcoming week. Now I will be doing a separate video on the full moon in Libra, so make sure you watch out at the end of the week for that video. But today we're going to be talking about three major aspects. The first one is going to be Mercury squaring Mars. We're feeling that energy today as it perfects, but we probably were feeling it a few days ago, and we're going to be feeling it all the way into the 26th, which I believe is on a Friday. So if you've been kind of going at it with folks in terms of verbal combativeness, then this is the reason why. Mercury is in Pisces right now. That means Mercury is in its fall. It doesn't like to be in the sign of Pisces. Mercury is a very brainy sign. It likes to distill information down. It likes to exchange information. It likes to exchange ideas. It likes to exchange goods. It likes to communicate, but about tactile things that make sense. It likes to challenge in terms of things that make sense. Piscean energy, completely kind of different energy. Pisces is Jupiter ruled. It's all about kind of painting with very broad brushstrokes. It has to do with communicating through symbols and through music and through metaphor. Has to do with creativity. Doesn't really always want to attack things straight on. It likes to retreat kind of a little bit and then live in a escapist type of place before it's ready to always deal with reality. It likes to think about things and to feel things deeply. Mercury tends to not love that, which is why, we can see that it's in its fall in that sign. Now, it's squaring Mars. Mars is in the sign of Gemini. So Mars is our active planet. It's our planet that likes to take action, our planet that likes to kind of sort of blow things up, blow ourselves up, make ourselves bigger than what it is. It likes to be seen for things. It likes to show up. It likes to activate. It likes to give energy to things, to get it moving and get it rocking and rolling. It gets you up off your butt so that you can do the things that you say you want to do. If you've been stuck, it's it's like really putting fire underneath you. That is Mars energy. It also can be aggressive. It also can overstep boundaries. I've talked about Mars a lot when I was talking about Aries in my Aries video. Aries is Mars ruled, so is Scorpio. So we know why that happens. Now, Mars right now is in Gemini. Gemini is Mercury's sign. So Gemini is more cerebral. It likes talk. It likes banter. And those are both two very youthful type of energies when they come together. But when they're making that square, it's essentially I'm not really communicating as best as I can because I'm kind of trying to be specific in what I say, but I'm deeply emotional, and then I want to take action on that. So sometimes, especially when it's a square, that can be deeply problematic. Let's talk about, though, the kind of positive things that can come from this. So one of the positive things that can come from this is being assertive, and also just problem solving, and then using your words or using images or using your unique way of communicating to problem solve an issue. So that is something that can happen because Mars is going to make sure that things get done. It's going to give you the fuel that you need. You just have to kind of sort of come up with the follow through. It can be a very playful time, so it's a really great time. I think it's very stand-up comedian energy. People playing pranks, young people that are going out in the world and doing things and want to activate, all of that energy that was happening with Florida, with all the kids on spring break, but then it kind of sort of took a left turn. That's something too that can happen, wanting to go out and have fun, but then it just kind of devolving into something else, pranks that go wrong. Those are type of things that can happen too. It's all about taking actions, but you're taking actions on your emotions, but your emotional state right now, it's not manageable, or at least it doesn't feel like it's manageable. The ways that you used to be able to deal with your emotions, either you have a new situation that happened or you just have a different way that you're going to have to deal with them. So people are taking action maybe off of bad information or information that they feel deeply about, but they haven't really thought through, because that mercurial, aspect of really combing through details, what is correct, what is not correct, not happening because it's wrapped up in Piscean energy. So you're not really able to, kind of differentiate between the truth maybe and a lie, but yet you're activating on it. And we can kind of see those things happening. So one thing that's really important to do with this energy is to make things concrete and to ground them for yourself. That's going to be something that's really important. If you have a lot of energy and you don't feel like you can use it in a creative way, organizing your space, cleaning out things, cleaning out your closet, cleaning out your trunk, cleaning out anything that will give you the energy energy so that you can actually like do something with your hands. Like, you know, you don't want to have idle hands during this time, especially when we get into the second aspect, because that's Mars conjunct Rahu, or the North Node. So that's adding even more fire to this energy. So unless you have, you know, something specific that you're doing with this energy, it can become like very explosive and very kind of like catastrophic. Some of the more negative aspects with this sign, arguments, disagreements, reactionary responses, inflammatory responses, just kind of coming off the cuff, not using a lot of tact, getting deeply emotional about things and just blurting information out, or blurting out names, or blurting out stuff that you later on will regret, and because you don't really mean it. It could be about talking about information or talking about a subject, but you actually don't know exactly what you're talking about because you're really confused on how you feel because you don't have all of the information, or you're just not able to process all of the information. It could be a lot of misunderstandings that have to do with home life, because it is, you know, Chiron is there. So there is this, you know, quality of like childhood trauma or core wounds or insecurities. It could potentially have stuff to do with like a disruption or things that have to do with siblings, because Gemini does kind of rule siblings or friends that are like siblings. So it could be your friend pool or your friend group, just kind of miscommunication with friends that kind of turn into something much bigger and a little bit more volatile. Those are things that can happen too. So we have Mars, our second aspect for this week, Mars conjunct Rahu. That is happening. It's perfecting on the 26th, though we would feel it now all the way until the 29th. So Mars, again, action, where we can be aggressive, where we have fire, where we have the passion and the will to do things. And we have Rahu, which is also known as the North Node, or the North Node of the moon. That has to do with increase, expansion. It has a very karmic kind of feel to it. It has to do with like what we need to learn, what is our challenge in this life, the thing that is unknown. It's the place where things kind of combust, where we can get like shaken up a bit in life. And it's also a space where we get pushed in a specific direction. So it's giving it a lot of energy. So we have a malefic planet here, which is Mars, you know, in Gemini, and then it's conjunct Rahu. So they're super close together, and it's essentially like giving all the fuel and all the fire. And it can be very, very explosive, and it can be something that can turn out to be like really, really problematic unless you are doing something with your energy. So that is, I think, like the most important, like this whole video is going to be like, what are you doing with your energy? So positive things though, first that come out of this. Big energy, big restorative energy. When you have energy like this is like mountain climbing energy. This is like, I've always wanted to do ... And then you go and do that thing, because you'll have the energy, you'll have the wherewithal, you'll have everything that you need, you'll have the self-confidence to do it. That's what you want to do, as long as, of course, it's not hurting anybody. It could be a lot of focus on male type or oriented energy, just because of Mars, that quality of Mars. A lot of times, like, male figures might become very prominent right now. Male figures that are aggressive could be potentially prominent, or male figures that are just really standing up in their leadership and their power could also come to prominence, or we just see a spotlight kind of shown on them, or they take a big action. It could be about gaining new skills, about upgrading, about expanding your network. It could be just really about taking the bull by the horns in your life and really stepping up and saying, this is what I'm going to do in my life. This is how I'm going to activate, and this is how I'm going to direct things. So it's great for entrepreneurs, especially. This is such a great signature for people who are business owners. If you're a business owner, you're somebody who's saying, okay, you know, like, or if you want to start a business, really great energy for that, because you're really stepping up into the leadership position in your company, or you could be stepping up into a leadership position just in your life. If you're doing like combat sports or dance or anything that has to do with the body, it's a great time, and it's a good supportive time also for that. So some of the negative things that can come from this. One of the big negative things is it's just big, reckless energy that's kind of out of control. This is the type of energy that has to do a lot with, especially if we're talking about like things on the macro and not personal, like fire-related accidents, volcanic activity, any kind of, like, we've seen like already, at least in the United States, 2 big active shooter incidents. Those are the kind of things that happen with this, you know, Mars Rahu conjunction. Wars, it can be the spread or the proliferation of disease. So again, COVID, we've got to be kind of careful, because the case numbers are rising. People can be into things like, just being so reckless that they harm themselves, harm others. It's like when you have this pent up energy and it just kind of like explodes all over the place, you don't always have a lot of control as to where the direction that it's going in. So you want to just make sure that, we're kind of like letting the energy kind of like ease out slowly. It's kind of like on the Big Island, we have like so many quakes, but they're little ones. And it's like always good to have like little shakes, because if you don't have the little shakes, they say like if you have, if you get a shake, it'll be a big one, it'll be a huge earthquake. And that's something that, we don't want. The thing about this though, is because Mercury is in Pisces, a lot of the way that we feel and a lot of the way that we're processing this energy, it'll make us very passionate about things, and then we'll take action on it without really thinking things through. I call it passionate stupidity. We can see that. We've also seen that with just what's happened with the two active shooters. Like, who knows what they believe or what they want or whatever, but a lot of passion, a lot of reading, a lot of like, thinking that things are a certain way. And then they take these horrible, horrible actions where they have harmed other people and killed other people. And now it's like, after these events happen, it's like what you believe in, was that even true? And even if it was true, which it wasn't, like, taking somebody's life over something like that, that's just not okay. So we just want to be careful. I just encourage everybody to be careful during this time, because things are kind of sort of a little like, it's cooking now. And if you're that type of person that feels like you're a little bit on edge with those kind of things, definitely get some help for that. There are places where you can get help. There are places where you can become de-radicalized. Radicalization is a problem right now for so many people, because we're emotional about things. There's so much media, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's coming from a honest place. So you have to be careful where you're getting your information from, and you have to be careful on what it's making you feel like you need to do in order to normalize things for yourself. The sun is conjunct Venus, and that is happening. We can feel that energy March 22nd to 28th, and it's going to be perfecting on the 25th. And sun stuff has to do with self, identity, heart, how we shine, what our life purpose is, our creative power, our sense of like self-confidence. And then Venus has to do with all of the things that like love and partnership and relationship. And it has to also do with women or womanly issues, social justice. It has to do with harmony and bringing things together. And what are the things that we value in the world? What are the tactile things? Art, and also creativity. This Sun Venus conjunction, or this Venus cazimi, which is essentially when Venus is reborn, in a metaphorical sense, and it's like reborn in what they call the heart of the sun. It happened last year, and let me get the dates. It happened May the 12th. 2020 was when Venus was retrograde, right? And then the sun was conjunct Venus June 13th. That's when it was cazimi. And during that time is when George Floyd was murdered. And we had all of the social justice stuff happening. And we had all of the protests. And then some of the protests, unfortunately, dissolved into riots. And then it just kind of sort of was so much energy at that time. And then a lot of people got injured. And, the cops were pretty terrible to a lot of the protesters. And it was just really a rough time in terms of social justice in, like in our country. And so we're actually coming in this aspect again right now. And I thought that was interesting, because I saw last week that the police officer that did that to Floyd, he is actually going to be standing trial. And I think they just got their last juror. So it's interesting how, when the astrology kind of ties up with that. But, Venus is not retrograde right now, but Venus is in her fall in Aries, and when Venus is in her fall, which is what's happening right now, she's like, Aries is a me oriented sign. It's all about like what I want to do, how I show up, how I lead. Venus is like, what can we do? What is the community want? What is best for us all? How am I thinking of the collective? And so there's a lot of issues with that, with especially with the sun being exalted in Aries, and the sun is also very eye oriented. Look at me, see me. The sun is standing there, in the universe, brightly shining, and then all other planets are revolving around it. So it's this like idea of, how I'm seen and how I want to be viewed in the world, and what my status is in the world, and what my responsibility to myself is versus what my responsibility is to you, what is my responsibility to my community. With things that have to do with partnership, in regard to partnership, also relationships and love, if they've been taking a hit, which a lot of them has, especially now that we're in this space where Venus is in her fall, as Venus is what they call under the sunbeams right now, as the sun is getting closer, they're getting closer together. And when Venus is that close to the sun is so bright, and essentially obliterates obliterates Venus's brightness. So it's almost as if she can't be seen. It's almost as if the person who wants to patch things up and make things up and come together and make sure that everything is okay, the energy of that, the archetypal energy of that is unseen, you know. And what we're seeing right now is everybody saying me, 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 focus on me, 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 you know, as opposed to like, what can we do and what are we doing? So with that energy, Venusian things that have to do with women, issues that have to do with beauty, issues that have to do with fairness, and all of those things can kind of get obscured in a way. They can be kind of like, you know, they need to be like repackaged. They need to be looked at from a different perspective. Maybe the way that we've been doing things haven't been working, and so we have to see things differently. We might see a female figure, a Venusian figure, somebody who maybe represents all things Venus, which would be like beauty or art, or anybody who has like a solar type figure have some sort of death or rebirth, you know, during this time. We also are seeing with our relationships and with things that have to do with partnerships, reevaluating them, seeing what it is that works, seeing what it is that doesn't work, really getting to the heart of the matter, because Venus is in the heart of the sun in the Cazimi. So you're getting to the heart of what's going on in your relationships and in your partnerships. What is the problems? What are the issues? You might have even uncovered, especially last week, some of the uglier things about that, like some of the things that, you know, like didn't feel so good. And so now that you're getting to the heart of the matter, you're able to now rise up, you know, as now being reborn as the evening star, because that's what happens when Venus is Cazimi, the sun. It gets reborn, and it gets reborn either as the morning star or the evening star. So now it is the evening star, which we can actually see next week when Venus is out of the sunbeams. It'll be visible. It needs to get further enough from the sun for it to be visible, and we'll be able to see it at night as the evening star. The thing that's very important during this time is lots of action is happening, and we have a debilitated Venus, which means that we're not necessarily always thinking about the collective. We're kind of torn between thinking about ourselves and thinking about other people, you know, and how we're going to do that. And then the way that we're communicating and the way that our mind is working and thinking is from a deeply emotional place, which might not be like the highest place that we can, you know, think from. I mean, emotions are super duper important, and we absolutely need them. But if we're too caught up in our emotions and we just completely nix off the logical side, then we're not going to be able to, like, you know, feel things and have empathy, but also use our logical sense to actually problem solve our way through that. Things that I think are going to be important, especially when it comes to that Rahu Mars conjunction, it's squaring the moon in Virgo. So for me, for that, especially with squaring the moon, and the moon is in the sign of Virgo, taking care of yourself during this big energy time is important. For those of us who have a lot of energy or have a lot of fire in our chart, this time might feel like way overwhelming. It's too much. We're kind of like, there could be a little bit of obsessiveness about doing things or getting things done, thinking you didn't do enough, thinking that you're doing too much, being burnt out because there's so much work and so much stuff. It's like, good, Rahu brings like things, right? But then it's like too much things feel like a burden. If it's exhausting because it's like too much to the point of burnout. So you want to make sure, in true Virgo sense, to take care of yourself, to drink your water, to take, you know, whatever kinds of like supplements, or, you know, eat some fruit and veggies, all the things that you need to make yourself feel good. And taking care of your body, getting good exercise. So important. That's such a great way to work with this energy, Mars energy, especially dudes, man, please work out. Go for a run, do something. That's a really great way to just kind of like release the tension, you know. Sex is also really good for that, by the way. It is trining Saturn. So there is this sense of really laying down foundations, really getting some foundational stuff down. If you use the energy to lay your foundations, to clean up, to organize, to create things, you are going to be in the pocket with this. If you don't do any of those things and you just let all this energy just circulate through you, you're going to explode. It's going to feel like too much. It's going to either be depressive and heavy, or it's going to feel like chaotic and crazy, and you can't think about things and put things together. Some of us are going to need to do massive self-love with this, and some of us are like going to be riding this and going to be like, yeah, this is great. I'm getting stuff done. Usually I don't have the energy to, and that feels great. And that's okay, because we're all different and we're all working with different kind of energies. And if you want to know what your energy you're working with, you can definitely reach out to me. So thank you guys so much for listening. Again, my name is Kaylani. This is your Astro Chat for this week. If you want to learn more about the energy that you're working with and learn more about your birth chart, know what's happening, where all these planets are, and how they're affecting you individually, you can contact me for a birth chart reading. My information is www.thewildwahine.as.me. You can also look at the link in the bio. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Come visit me on my YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, tag people if you found this helpful, and thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Get some exercise. All right, aloha.